Yo, what's going on, people? Welcome back to Madden Football. I'm so glad to be with y'all today because there were great games to play on the Champions League because it's the second day of not only the European Cup, but the best tournament in world of football, the Champions League. Some brilliant games were played today, I must say. First of all, Atletico Madrid, what an absolute masterclass. Uh, Julian Alvarez with an unreal strike to start the game off, and Antoine Griezmann to score the second goals. Arsenal 3, Monaco nil with Bukayo Saka's brace, which also led to Kai Havertz's goal to make it 3 against Monaco. Manchester City disaster against Juventus, and they're going through a tough season, and Juventus scored 2, Manchester City nil. That is 7 losses in the last 10 games for Manchester City. So something definitely needs to be done. I don't know what it is. You're looking at Manchester City and you're like, why the hell did Pep Guardiola sign another contract? Because they're in the dust right now. And for Barcelona, 3, Dortmund 2. Excellent game all throughout the way. It was back to back, back and forth. 1 goal, Barcelona, 1 goal, Dortmund. Then it was 2-1, then it was 2-2, and then they won the game at the very end. I believe Ferran Torres was the one that scored, or maybe Rafinha. I think it was Rafinha. I didn't watch the game, but I watched 2 games simultaneously today. I watched the Arsenal game against Monaco, and I watched the Manchester City game against Juventus. So let's dive right the hell into it, shall we? But before I do that, if you haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe on Mandem Football. Follow me on Instagram at Demeachnyc, and also follow me on X or Twitter or whatever the hell Elon Musk wants to call it. Follow me on there, Mandem_football. So right now, let's dive into it. The first game I want to talk about today is definitely the Arsenal game because that was a beauty of a match by Arsenal. The first half started, and I'm telling you, these guys should have scored at least 5 goals, or they should have been 3-0 up, definitely. And Gabriel Jesus, missed 2 opportunities that should have had Arsenal 2-0 up. And Martin Odegaard missed a 1v1 that should have had Arsenal up as well. I think this is a reminder that Arsenal are great, but they could be even better. I expect more from this Arsenal team because I know what this Arsenal team is really capable of. They need a Haaland. They need a Victor Gyökeres. They need a Benjamin Sesko. They need Pedro Neto. They need guys that are speed and quick and fast in the transition. Like Chelsea, Tottenham, you look at who they have. They have guys like Kulusevski. They got guys like Nicholas Jackson. They got guys like Pedro Neto, who I just mentioned. They have fast, quick, clinical strikers that can break the lines and can really terrify the defense. And it's not necessarily that Nicholas Jackson is amazing, but it's just the fact that Nicholas Jackson is a transitional attacker. And if he is clinical, which he has been this season, he could terrify teams. And if he were playing for an Arsenal who have great link-up play and know what to do with the ball at their feet and know how to set up goals for themselves and are so tactically structured and versatile, that would be incredible to have a player like Victor Gyökeres. It would be incredible to have an Erling Haaland, but Manchester City have that luxury already, or even a Dusan Vlahovic at Juventus. And, that's what Arsenal need. But in other cases right now, they did score 3 goals because they have a star boy in Bukayo Saka, and his brace, his 3rd attempt on goal, actually led to Kai Havertz's goal. So that is basically a goal in itself for Bukayo Saka, but we're going to call it a brace and an assist. And that is just what Arsenal do. They did lose momentum a little bit into the second half. I think Monaco picked up the pace and they pressed a little bit more, which led to the sloppiness of Arsenal. But Arsenal coped and definitely reduced the chances taken for Monaco. They really didn't have anything going for them. And this reminded me a lot of what I saw against Fulham. However, Arsenal were a bit sloppy in the first half against Fulham, but in the second half, they were the ones that had the chances. They were the ones that had, 90% of the ball at all times, and they were able to create against Fulham, and they were able to create even more against Monaco. So that's a lot of credit to Arsenal, who don't get enough credit for what they really do in open play, besides scoring goals in open play. They know that they need to score goals in open play because they have not only the players to do so, but they have the opportunities that are there but are just not taken, especially in the first half. So, I think Arsenal played an excellent game, and I think they can be an even better team that teams have to watch out for. And the moment they get that, player like Gyökeres, if they get the opportunity to, if they get an Isak, which we've been hearing a lot about, there's rumors that, both parties would be fine and that they've been talking about it. Or they would have like a Benjamin Sesko that they looked for. You know, if they were to have their eyes on any of those sort of players, and if they actually got a hold of those players in their squad, they will be a dangerous team to play against because they already have everything else besides that. So great win for Arsenal, and I cannot wait to see even more of them in the future because they are a dangerous team to play against. As for Manchester City, who have been a dangerous team to play against over the past 10 seasons, have now lost 10, not 10 games, but they've lost 7 games out of their last 10 games. 7 losses, 2 draws, and only 1 victory. It's scary times. It is scary times for Manchester City. If I were a Manchester City fan, I would be reminiscing about the old times quick because, this is just not looking good. If anybody watched the Manchester City game, you could clearly see what is going wrong, and it's the transition. They are bad when they are, off the ball, and they're having to track back in the transition game, and that's really the only thing that teams are breaking them down with. You look at what they have in the box. The second goal, I'm going to say, the second goal and the first goal, you should say, were scored in their own penalty box from corners. Not corners, but from crosses. It's like they don't know how to manipulate the space in the last moments of their defensive phase. Right? When they're up against it and there's a counterattack, it's almost like they're just not what's the word? They're just not anticipating the ball. They're not anticipating where the ball is going to go. They're not anticipating, where that final ball is going to be played to. And again, with the Weston McKennie goal, that shocks me. That shocks me. I expect many teams, I expect many of their rival clubs, like say Liverpool, say Arsenal, say other teams that they've competed for over the years, to stop that goal from going in. I mean, a goal like that by Weston McKennie, first of all, was brilliant. I give a lot of credit to Juventus, by the way. But to let in a goal like that is just pathetic, and it's shocking because I expect, like I said, the other teams I just mentioned to defend that. I expect there to be bodies in the box when Manchester City are up against it. They have their defenders in place and to be able to stop it. But if you look at the players that are on the field, you have to remember that these are guys that are not really there to defend. They're all there to play in a system under Pep Guardiola that attributes to them. But that doesn't mean that whatever their reliability at is not going to be seen. Right? For example, they lack physicality. They're very brittle in open play when they're off the ball. For example, the likes of Doku, the likes of Gundogan, the likes of Bernardo Silva, the likes of Rico Lewis. These are guys that are brittle but are excellent with the ball at their feet and know how to be technical with the ball and to remain control of the possession, because these are players that are very hard to get the ball off of. But, when you expect them to be defensive, when you expect them to play a part when defending or, stopping a counterattack against them, Rico Lewis is going to get turned. Doku's going to get turned because he doesn't have the physicality. Bernardo Silva, don't even get me started. Jack Grealish, I think Jack Grealish is great defensively, but he was taken off too soon. But Erling Haaland doesn't really do anything in defense. Kevin De Bruyne doesn't really press like that anymore. I think Guardiola it kind of is a good of both, going forward and also coming back in defense. But he's used in a system. So everything that attributes to him is done through a system, right? I think a lot of these players are becoming exposed. And it's unfortunate because we have great players, generational players like Kyle Walker and Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva and Ilkay Gundogan and Ruben Diaz, and Ederson, I should even say, who have been around the game for quite a while, and we know how good they really are. But now they're in a turmoil under Pep Guardiola, and you can tell that he's tried numerous different things in order to fix what's going on, but nothing could be done because I think he's lacking a lot of what they had over the years. They're lacking a Julian Alvarez who will do anything to win a game. He'll press, he'll defend, he will track back, he will go forward, he will do everything. He is like your dog. He has that dog in him, right? And they shoot him off to Atletico Madrid for the money. I don't know why. I think that was a terrible decision, and I knew it from the get-go. And they didn't even replace him with anyone. They replaced him with Savinho and Nunes. Well, Nunes been there. But with Savinho, again, another player that does not have the physicality, that's not up to speed. So, I think Manchester City really have to take a good look at themselves. And I think they're suffering from their own success, Manchester City. And I think that's the clearest observation that I've seen as of today. They're suffering from their own success, and many things need to be done over the next few months, whether that be in January, whether that be in the summertime. But they have a lot of things that they need to address because they're not going to win the Premier League, and the way they're playing, they're not going to win no Champions League. I mean, anything could happen in the Champions League, but I don't see that happening whatsoever. And if they're not going to win the Prem, so they have to really look for the domestic trophies, which is really the FA Cup. I don't even know if they're still in the FA Cup. I have to check myself. Comment in the video below if they are, if they're not. And if you think they're going to win the FA Cup, by all means, go by it. But they're definitely not playing like it. So that's my take on Manchester City. Barcelona against Dortmund. Barcelona proving to me that they're one of the best teams in the world, if not in the world, when everybody's healthy. They are absolutely brilliant. Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, Lewandowski, all of those guys, they're all putting in a shift. They're all putting in performances, and it's just brilliant to see from an outsider perspective because they've been in the mud for quite a long time. But now Hansi Flick has come to Barcelona and has really changed the way they've been playing over the past few games and past few seasons. And it's going to be tight in La Liga between Real Madrid and Barcelona. And they are definitely, Champions League contenders to win the whole competition. So that's what I believe. And that's what I got for today, guys. This weekend's going to be nuts because big games are going to come up, especially the Manchester City derby, or I should say the Manchester City competition between them and Manchester United. I only say that because Man U have not won against City in quite a while in terms of the Premier League. But this will be a big game because both teams have a lot to prove. Both teams have a lot to show, especially now Manchester City that they lost the way they did against Juventus. Yeah, by the way, big up Weston McKennie and Christian Pulisic, the American boys. Big them up. They're doing a hell of a job this season. And yeah, going back to Manchester City and United, it's going to be a crazy game. Ruben Amorim has to prove what he's about, and Pep Guardiola has to prove that he made the right decision signing a 2-year contract. So that's all I got for you guys. Like, comment, and subscribe on the video below, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.